Hello, and welcome back to Baking with Pastor Alexandra. Today, we are going to be baking gingerbread cookies. Now, this is a very involved recipe. There's a lot of different steps. I've already done a few of my steps to make things go smoother for us. So we're going to go ahead and jump in and get started. And this recipe comes from the Southern Living magazine. It's from the December 2011 issue. It is a special recipe because it's the recipe that my mother-in-law makes every time we make gingerbread cookies. And we make gingerbread cookies a lot because I love gingerbread cookies. Every year I always have to make gingerbread cookies and decorate them, and I always love putting together a gingerbread house with my mom. Those are some of my favorite Christmas traditions. I hope that as I get to know more of you and your families, that I'll learn what some of your Christmas traditions are as well. So I'm going to go ahead and get us started on our recipe. This is called Gingerbread Men Cookies. Now, they can be women too. That's okay. And they make 2 dozen cookies, 4-inch. So we have our cookie cutter set out already. You can make really big ones like this. I think this is probably the 4-inch one. Or you can make little bitty ones too, so baby ones. So the first thing that the recipe calls for you to do is to take butter, 1 cup of butter, and that's 2 sticks of butter. 2 sticks equals 1 cup. So you take your butter and you heat it in the microwave. And now I've already done that. And then you take 1 cup of sugar. And so what you want to do, you start out and you're going to mix that. Now the recipe says to do a stand mixer. I only have a hand mixer, and it works too. It just makes it a little tired to keep doing it because it's a very involved recipe, like I said. But so first you're going to start out and you're going to get your butter and your sugar together, and you're going to mix it until it looks fluffy. And I'll show you all kind of what it looks like after it looks all fluffy. So basically, I can't really show it to y'all, but it's going to look really fluffy, kind of like icing almost. Now mine looks a little bit more watery because I think I heated my butter a little bit too long, so my butter got a little bit messy. But I think it'll be fine. It's still pretty fluffy. It's just not quite as fluffy as the last batch that I made, but I think it'll still be good. So once you get that together, then the next thing the recipe calls for is you got to make your molasses mixture. So that's kind of interesting. Basically, you take a 1/4 cup of water and you take a cup of molasses and you take so you take the 1/4 cup of hot water and then 1 cup of molasses, and then you take 1.5 teaspoons of baking soda. So 1.5 teaspoons of baking soda, you mix that into your hot water. And so you mix that in first until it's dissolved. Your baking soda, 1.5 teaspoons of baking soda, and your water. And then after you do that, then you mix in the molasses. And then you're going to have this kind of brown molasses-like mixture that you have going on here. So that's one of our mixtures. And then the next mixture, which I have in this bowl, is flour and also the other spices. So that's ground ginger, ground cinnamon, salt, and allspice. And for the flour, it's a lot of flour, y'all. It's 5.5 cups of flour. That is a lot of flour. So after you kind of get your different mixtures going here, you have your butter that you started out with, right? So you got that. You got it real fluffy and everything. And then you start mixing, alternating. So you alternate flour and molasses, and you keep mixing it in until you get this whole mixture full of cookie dough. So we're going to start, so first you, let's see. Yes, first you add some of the flour. And now the reason that you want to kind of not do it all at the same time is because, as my mother-in-law told me, you will get a cloud of flour if you do all the flour at once. So that's kind of why you mix it alternating, because you don't want all your flour to go in there at once and make a big mess. This is already messy as it is. So you just kind of alternate back and forth. So we got our flour going in here, and then this worked out really well. I liked that I put my molasses mixture in here because I can just pour it. It makes it really easy to do it like that. So we're going to get our flour really mixed in there really well. And then we're going to pour a little bit of molasses in there. Pour a lot. That was a little bit more than I meant to pour in there. And then we're going to put some more flour in there. Going to mix that up. And see, this is where it would come in handy to have the stand mixer, because it's a lot of pouring back and forth and a lot of mixing, because you mix for a long time since you're going back and forth pouring the different mixtures in there. It takes a long time and a lot of muscle power here. So, and also you kind of have to stop periodically, because you see they'll kind of get, they get kind of caked on there. So you kind of have to stop periodically to kind of peel it off. A little bit more molasses in there. I'm gonna put a little bit more flour in there. So you really got to mix to get all that flour mixed in, because it's, like I said, it's a lot of flour. It's 5.5 cups of flour. It's a lot. And that sounds like a lot, but then when you visualize it, it's even more. And now your dough, if your dough is like mine, it's probably going to look a little bit crumbly. And it should kind of, after it soaks up after some of that flour soaks up some of that liquid, it should start to kind of get less crumbly looking. But after you get all of it mixed together, you do have to sit it in the fridge to chill for an hour. And so while it's chilling for an hour, that should also help it to kind of soak up more of that liquid too. So here, I'm going to have to stop here and kind of get some of it off of the mixer here. You can see it really gets stuck on there. It's a very sticky dough. Probably from the 2 sticks of butter in there. That makes it sticky. And molasses are really sticky too, so it's just a sticky mixture you got going there. So then we're going to put a little bit more molasses in there again. Kind of start that going. Molasses going here. I'm going to keep making recipes like this. I think I've got my excuse to get my stand mixer I've always wanted. Always wanted one of those stand KitchenAid mixers, the pink one specifically. Okay, so we're going to add a little bit more of that flour mixture. stop and get some of the dough off again, because like I said, it's sticking to him real bad. Yeah, don't wear nice clothes for this recipe. It's messy. Of course, normally I'd wear an apron, but I gotta wear my gingerbread cookie sweater for our gingerbread cookies. So I got that on. Also, prepare to really clean your kitchen after making this as well, because it is messy and it requires a lot of materials. Okay, we're gonna pour some more molasses in there. Get some more liquid going to help with this crumbly mixture we got. And I'm going to put the last of our flour in there. Get that going. Kind of mix it for a second here. Then we'll put in the last of our molasses and get it going. So I gotta take my mixer again and get the cookie dough off of it. So this will be fun for some of you kids that really like to get your hands all messy and dirty in the cooking bowl. Like if you like doing stuff like carving pumpkins and you like ooey gooey things, you'll like this recipe because you got to get your hands in there. And you'll see here in a few minutes, you really got to get your hands into the dough before you put it in the fridge. Fun. Okay. We're going to mix it just a little bit more before we start kneading it. And what you're going to do is you're going to knead it into a ball before we put it in the fridge to chill. Mix it just a little bit more just to make sure you get all of the flour in there. Okay, gotta get the dough off one more time, and then we're gonna start kneading it together, okay? Start kneading it into that ball here in just a minute. So, get it all out of there. Now, obviously, you all know before you really start cooking, especially since you are going to use your hands a lot, you gotta wash your hands before you cook. Now, I already did that before I got on my video here. So then you're gonna really just get into your dough here. And it's gonna be kind of hard to get in there because some of the flour probably didn't get all mixed in. And it's really crumbly. And it'll get under your nails, so it's pretty messy and dirty, okay? But basically, you want to just get in there and kind of get it all together. And it might even help to let it sit for a few minutes to kind of soak up some more of that liquid. Because as you can see, it kind of can get really crumbly. I'm not really sure why, because I've never made this recipe before. But something is making mine a little crumbly. But basically you want to take it and you want to knead it into a big ball, kind of like this. And then once you get it into the ball, then you're going to put it in the fridge for an hour. So I'm not going to put this one in the fridge quite yet because I'm going to be taking my other one out here in just a minute that I've already prepared. And that will be the one that we're going to roll out to make Christmas cookies. I'm going to wash my hands real quick and get this off. And then while we're waiting for our dough, our other one, to finish, we're going to talk a little bit about Advent and making Advent wreaths, okay? So, now we're going to talk about Advent wreaths. So, Advent wreaths are a tradition that the church celebrates every year. So, let's talk a little bit about Advent first before we get into Advent wreaths. So, Advent is a season of the 4 weeks leading up until Christmas. So, they consist of 4 different weeks and 4 different Sundays. And on each Sunday, we have an Advent wreath, and we light a different candle of the Advent wreath every Sunday. So there are the candles, of course, and they all have a different meaning. They all represent something different. So we have 4 Sundays in Advent, and the 4 Sundays that are represented in our candles are hope, peace, love, and joy. And our first Sunday coming up this coming Sunday on the 29th is hope. So that's where we will start with our season. But it's the 4 weeks leading up to Christmas. And of course, Christmas is when we celebrate Jesus Christ's birth. So the 4 seasons of Advent, the 4 weeks of the season of Advent, basically it's a time to help us prepare and to get in the right mindset of what is coming. We talk a lot about during Advent of that we're waiting for Jesus to come. And I know sometimes that can sound confusing, especially because, Jesus has already come. Jesus was already born. So why do we say every year that we're waiting for Jesus to be born? And we say that because we're waiting for the time that the church celebrates Jesus being born. And when we celebrate Advent and when we celebrate Christmas, we're kind of remembering, we're enacting this event that happened all these years ago. So throughout the season of Advent, throughout those 4 weeks, we think about all the stories that lead up to Jesus' birth, and we think about how Mary was feeling leading up to giving birth to Jesus, this figure that would go on to be our Savior, that would save the whole world from sin. So we think about Mary, we think about the way that Jesus was made way to come into the world. And so every year, like I said, our church has this Advent wreath. And of course, we have it at church, but another thing that can be special can be to have an Advent wreath in your own home. And a lot of churches, typically even we might have an Advent festival leading up to Christmas. And maybe at our Advent festival, we would make Advent wreaths. But of course, this year with COVID, we're not able to do that. So this year, I'm encouraging you to make Advent wreaths in your own home to have with your family. And as you know, we have our Advent devotional that the church that we have put together as a church that members have written devotions for. And that's going to be a really special touch to Advent this year. So what would make that even more special but to have an Advent wreath to go along with your Advent devotion? So you can take your GSPC Advent devotion. I have mine right over here. You can take your Advent devotion, and let's say you're opening up to the first Sunday, which is November 29th, the Hope Candle. And as you see here on the first page of our Advent book of hope, it even has about the Hope Candle, and it has a prayer. So just think, when you start your Advent journey through our Advent devotion, you can have your Advent devotional, and when you read the Hope Candle devotion, you can light your Hope Candle in your Advent wreath. And I think that's really special. So I'm going to tell you about how you can make an Advent wreath. So you obviously have to have something to make a wreath with. So I cheated a little bit when I made mine a few years ago because they ran out of the materials that I needed to make an Advent wreath at the Advent Festival. So I went to I think I went to Joann Fabrics and I got some stuff to make my own. And I like mine because it's reusable every year. So I don't have to go find the different greenery every year. It's reusable. I have it. So I have just this little wreath here that I found at Joann's. And I'm sure you can get something like this just about at any craft store you went to. So you can either do this, or, if you want to make an Advent wreath with actual greenery, what you can do is you can get one of those styrofoam rings. So you can get a styrofoam ring, or you can get one of those that's kind of wickery. You can get one of those too. So you can get one of those, either a styrofoam or a wicker. I think the styrofoam might be a little bit easier. And then you can go, and I think if you go to just about any Christmas tree farm, I know there's Potts Midtown Pumpkin Patch. They're doing Christmas trees this year. I'm sure if you went to Lowe's or Home Depot, anywhere that sells Christmas trees, they'll probably have some leftover greenery, and you can ask them for it. So I would go, if you're going to get greenery, and start there. Go and ask around and see if you can find somewhere that will give you some greenery. And then you're going to take that greenery, and what you're going to do is you're going to form it into a wreath. So if you had one of those styrofoam wreaths, you would stick your greenery in it until you've created this wreath. You can get anything else that you want to add in there, any kind of twigs or any other kind of greenery that you want to spruce it up or make it look a little bit different. So you're going to take that, and then you're going to want to get your candles. So I think our churches that have a pink candle, typically pink is the candle for love. It's our third Sunday. So typically that's our pink candle. But I think our church just has purple candles, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But mine, I got a pink candle for. So my candles, I have a purple candle for hope, a purple candle for peace, a pink candle for love, and a purple candle for joy. And then in the middle, you have this special white candle. And the white candle is the Christ candle. And that's the candle that's lit on Christmas Eve or on Christmas Day. So that's our really special candle. It's the Christ candle. So you're lighting all of these candles leading up to lighting the one in the middle. So that's kind of how you can think of it. You're lighting each one as we get closer and closer to Christmas. So that's a little bit about an Advent wreath. And I think our dough is ready to be taken out of the fridge. So we're going to check on that real quick. So let's see. All right, it feels really cold. It's been sitting in there for an hour, so it should. And it's pretty hard. It's pretty hard here. It's a hard ball of dough. So this is going to be interesting. We'll see how it goes. Like I said, this is my first time making this recipe. So y'all bear with me. To actually roll out the dough. And basically you're going to want to have a lightly floured parchment paper. So I've kind of already gotten our parchment paper here. And I'm going to get some flour on it. Not too much, just a little bit, just to lightly flour it. It says to roll dough to 4-inch thickness or ever lightly floured. So we're going to try that. And you also want to preheat your oven. So we're going to preheat our oven to 350. Okay, so our oven is preheating now. I'm just going to get this ball of dough out here. Okay, and it's still pretty crumbly here, so I don't know what we're going to do about that. I don't know why it's so crumbly. I mean, I followed the recipe just like it said, so I believe we're going to try using this rolling pin to kind of speed us up here. I just got this rolling pin very recently, so I'm glad that I got this because Definitely coming in handy today. I just don't think this is what your dough is supposed to look like, so I hope y'all's looks better than mine does, because mine is just very crumbly. It's just not sticking together like it's supposed to, so I don't know what's up with that, guys. Don't know. It's supposed to be pretty thin, I think, because 1/4 inch, that's pretty thin. So we're going to kind of move it around this way. Like some of it's sticking together and some of it's not. Maybe it needed more water or something. It's almost like it's kind of dry, so I don't know what's up with that. But we're going to roll with it, and we're going to try to make some cookies out of it, and we're just going to see how it goes. At least if y'all's is crumbly, you'll know that you're not alone. You're not the only one who has crumbly dough. This also really does not look like it's going to make 24 gingerbread cookies. I don't know where that idea came from. So, we'll see. Okay, well, we're going to just cut a few and see how it goes. Okay, well, we got one little cutout here. Uh-oh. His little arm broke. Oh, it's because it's so crumbly. Just going to kind of stick that little arm back on there. Okay, so we got one, kind of. Okay, that one turned out better. Here we go. So we'll see how this goes. We're obviously going to need a baking sheet, so. Put this together here and make one out of this. Man, I don't know, guys. Maybe this is going to make 24. We'll see. Got 3 already. That's more than we had to start. This one also, its leg broke off. You know what? Maybe we'll just go with it. It'll be like one that's missing a leg. Gotta be diverse, you know, represent all of God's children. Okay. So about the Advent wreath, I encourage you all to make one. And what I would love is, so I know that you guys all made, you all put palms on your doors during Palm Sunday. And what I would love is if you would do the same thing with your Advent wreaths. If you would make your Advent wreaths and share them with us on Facebook or by email or by text, however you want to share it with us. And then we'll post them all on our Facebook page so everyone can see the different Advent wreaths that people can make. One thing that I love about Advent wreaths is that you can make so many different kinds. Like mine looks like this, but Rebecca, she showed me hers, and hers looks very different than mine. And hers is one that she made on her own as well. And that's the thing that I love about them is they're all a little bit different, just like just like cookies and just like baking recipes, everything turns out just a little bit differently. And that's what makes it fun. And that's what makes being God's people fun, is that God made all of us just a little bit different. So you can see that reflected here in our gingerbread cookies and in our Advent wreaths. So our oven didn't take very long to preheat, so it won't be very long before we get these cookies in the oven to bake. One's trying to lose a foot, but we're good, it didn't lose it. So you end up kind of with a lot of scrappy pieces here, which you can, maybe that's how you get 24. You end up with all these little scrappy pieces, and then you use the leftover scraps to make it. Okay, this one's foot kind of fell off a little bit too, but we're just going to smush it back in there. So I'm going to go ahead and get our baking pan so we can start moving our cookies. This is a nonstick. I'm going to go ahead and spray it anyway because I really don't want these cookies to stick. That's the last thing you want, is for your gingerbread cookies to split. So you'll probably have to do your gingerbread cookies, bake a few at a time. So that's what we're going to do today. I am going to just cut enough that's going to fit on our baking sheet here. And then I'll do the rest on your own time. So we're going to keep cutting some more gingerbread cookies out here. Just enough to fill up our sheet. Try not to lose another leg here or foot. That one turned out really well, guys. Oop, almost dropped it. So pretty. I think these are going to be really yummy. And Brinley thinks they're going to be yummy too. She's down here. You can't see her, but she is down here trying to check out what I am doing. Brinley is my best little helper. She was just laying there watching me while I was making my cookies. I'm sure you all have dogs and kitties at home that like to watch you when you bake too. I'm sure they're very interested in what you're baking as well. And now we won't do this today on our cooking video, but what you can do at home is after you take them out of the oven, you can decorate them. And this recipe even has some icing that you can use. It has an icing recipe. I decided not to do that today, but you could certainly do that if you wanted to. After making this very involved gingerbread cookie recipe, probably myself will be doing store-bought icing, but you know, everyone has their own preferences. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Maybe we will have 24 out of this. Looking possible, guys. It is. I think they're going to be really cute. I know that. Here's another nice one. There. Cookies just really make me feel like I am in the season of Christmas. They really do. It makes me happy. And Christmas, as you'll learn, is my favorite holiday. It's been my favorite holiday for a long time. But I especially love the season of Christmas because my husband and I's anniversary is also during Christmas. But I just love it. I love the joy of the season. I love everything that Christmas means for the church. The church often says that we're Easter people. We live into the hope and the promise of the resurrection that the resurrection brings. But I think that we're Christmas people too, because you can't have Easter. Just in the same way that we live into the hope that Easter brings, we can also live into that hope going into the Advent season as well. Cookies are ready to go in the oven, so I'm going to put them in the oven now. The cookies are ready, so I'm going to get them out of the oven now. Yum! I'm not going to almost drop them this time. But look how good these look. Yum! Yum, 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 yum. So exciting. So we got our cookies and we're all done. That's it. That's it, guys. So then you just decorate your cookies however you want to. And of course, I have another batch that's going to have to go in the oven because they wouldn't all fit on the sheet. But that's it. That's all for now, folks. I hope y'all have a great time making this recipe. I hope it goes smooth, and I'd love to see pictures of your Advent wreaths. Please either send us an email or send them to us on Facebook or send them to us over text message. However you want to send them to us, send us pictures of your Advent wreath. And also send me pictures of your cookies. I want to see how you do them. I want to see how you decorate them. And the peace of Christ be with you.